Yeah, the year was 1969. It was quite divine. Things were starting to unwind in the reality just a wee bit, though it was hysterically crazy right along with it, too. Don't you know? And there's that kid, that poor young man, that blessed as all get out, though, so not po at all. But wow, having to endure a long schedule, long times away from home and from those he loved, etc., in order to perform this sacrificial life to this great American institution, which was a broadcasting company whose name we will not mention, but who also had theatrical extensions of which he was a part. And so therefore, wow, when that crystal blue persuasion came along, he made it, man, his heart's theme song, because he'd been living that dream since he was a tiny child, you see. Crystal Blue Persuasion, he played everywhere, on all the intermission music, all over the theatrical chain that he was in charge of, man. You couldn't go into one of them theaters and avoid it if you got in there a little bit early or stayed a little bit late. You were going to hear it. You go to the drive-in and go in to get your pizza, you're going to hear it. You understand what I mean, Jelly Bean? That's how in love with that song he was, man. Years later, way after 69, maybe 30 years later, 29 or 28, something like that, he's there in Denver, Colorado, got a radio show conversation with Coyote, don't you know? And babies, it was Crystal Blue Persuasion that got everybody in the flow. It was his theme song there for a while, don't you know? Beautifully so, too, man. Perfect in every right. Just like it is right here, right now, as we awaken to the great daylight, the sunrise inside our beautiful little hide. And we go back and remember that child, that little young man laying there on his pillow with that crystal radio attached to his head through a singular hard plastic, oh, that thing hurt, earphone, man, but ooh. And tinny though it was, there was the music of love, the divine voice of angels coming through and help him live in a dream world where dreams could come true, off to see the wizard and then some, you see. And this kind of living through the musicality of life preserved his heart through the greatest trials there could ever be for little children, don't you see? He's not the first, but he is exactly the last to ever have to go through the things that they did there. Yeah, indeed he do, I tell you true. Wow. And this is part of the reason why it would occur. But at the same time, there was that musical life to relieve the strife. So no matter how many visitations he had from those of the less than cool world, and how much subjugation how many tubes they attached to his body, how many wires to his head and his heart and all that good stuff, how many visions and dreams they made him live through, how many drugs they stuck in his little ass too, it didn't matter. He'd be all right. He'd pull through, man. Ooh, no wonder he got bitter and mean there for a while. But still the most loving child you ever met. Talk about a contrast. Talk about, diametric opposition. A soul that should have by rights been ripped apart. Because, boy, what was implanted there in that early time, that, harsh ritual of just, man, 4 going on to 5. About this time of year, October it was. Yeah, jeez, oh. Gosh, it's always October when things happen, man. But now is the unraveling, the undoing of all that, see? Because I carried it through. Just me, but all of us in it together, don't you see? And thank goodness for it, man. Without you, there wouldn't be me. Without me, there wouldn't be you. You understand how that works, don't you? Yeah, see? So we're all in it together. And yeah, this is a personal experience story, but it's personal in everyone that lives. Because it's the same life being lived in you at the same time, too. You understand what I'm saying, Lou? How about you, Mary J? Oh, yeah, she always knows the way. Pay attention to her, baby. She'll help you get there. And not be square, man, So it's about the time Mary Jane was bringing me back to life when Crystal Blue Persuasion shows up in my life. And I'm putting in like 18 hours a day in my theatrical exhibition world, and then another, few hours at night partying down with the troops and smoking licorice-flavored marijuana joints, and oh man, tripping to the moon and back, the stars and beyond. I'm starting to understand, to begin the flow, the heart. Oh, the deepening of your awareness, the unacceptability of the harsh world in which you lived, etc., and so on. Yet soft hearts opening everywhere, and people coming back to life and saying, "Look, we insist on love. We're here to party and party hardy and have a good time." That was our paradigm divine revealing itself to us then. We didn't even know it, babies. But yet at the same time, went with the flow of it in a radical sort of way. It wasn't long before, wow, I couldn't work like that anymore, man. About a year of that, I think I said, enough. Got to go play, and eventually we got to that. Thank goodness. But oh, what a roll. What a medicine flow that was. 69 into 70. Trying as all get out. Some of the harshest moments, and the whole of the reality would come to you then. But right along with it, a sweetness and an elemental new dimension that you really had been living in all along. But it kind of preserved in your dream way, and it had preserved you too and helped you along the way. But here we are now, expanding and starting to realize there was something going on here. It's like old Thunderclap Newman says, there's something in the air, we got to get together. Boy, we were doing it then. That was one of our marching theme songs back then too. We got to get together sooner or later, 'cause the revolution's here. Well, it still is, and it's very clear. See, and I think it's through the music we preserved the treasure of our heart and kept it alive through all the harsh trials we've been through in life. Mine might be a little more colorful and trying than most, but everybody's been through their trials, and look at how the musical heart has always pulled you through. When you're feeling blue, what do you want to listen to? Well, not blues, but some people do. Ah, gee. But it's the music that ripens you through, see? It's because there's other hearts out there that can relate to your experience primarily. It's a communication of the heart. It's the divine revealing itself in the cleverest of ways because it used the darker energies to do so. There wasn't a more corrupt industry back in those days than the music industry. Thieving, lying, swiney, sharky SOBs everywhere, but in the presence of angels, lost angels down there and lost angelists. Yeah, Hollywood. Yeah. But babies, despite all of that, look at the colorful reality we've managed to preserve and now come to display within ourselves and, of course, magnificently around us too, babies. We're the blossoming flowers of the universe, man. And we got through it all, man, and preserved, our hippie ideals. We didn't even know we're hippie when we were young kids and just going through it and getting around to it. But we held that dream one way or another. And there was always music involved some way or another. Just like there was for that divine little presence and that tiny little child was going to get so morphed out and so stretched. Amazing that he made it through that stretch. But not at all when you consider you got the help of the universe on your side. All of it. And it's helping you take that ride. Gee whiz. There wasn't ever a chance you could lose, babies. Not at all. Not any of us. That's how we pulled through. Because Mama was always there in the form of the whole universe, too. Pushing us along, nursing us along, carrying us along when it had to. You see, it's always been there. It's the heart of love, and it's everywhere. In everything that is, the harshest, cruelest things and the most divine presences you ever seen. Because it's everywhere. And in seeing it this way, we dissolve away, well, the harsh cruelty. Of course, how could that ever be? In loving hearts, there's only freedom. There's only the nurturing life. Love of everything. See, and I've felt that since I was a kid. I know you have too. And somehow we've held on to that childlike thing. That love for everything, let alone everyone. And that entertainment we have with it. Even the darker aspects of you and me too. We're entertained even by that. All of it. And now we're like seeing the cosmic miracle occur because it's coming to a point of reunion. Remembering and reminding itself of what it is inside and becoming so. A unified unit. You see, there is no division within. And therefore the divisions in life will dissolve away as well. Everything we've perceived of as a division, that keeps us divided from others. Whether it's a walk around the block or a national boundary or a tribal thing or whatever. Any idea that's ever been held in our heart that says we're different and we therefore can't be with those people, etc. Any division. Any division created, oh, we got money, we're higher than you. Any division, oh, we're holier than you are. Whatever it is, we've had our comic forms of expression and everything's allowed here. Whatever it had to be, it wanted to be, and that's what it was. And so we just let it go with love. You see, we understand now the natural world, the flow of the heart. You see, it's always been there. And that's just been acting, and it's what's helped get us here. We had to go through it somehow. So we created a dynamic by which we could. Yes, indeedy. And now we're back in our old neighborhood, the reality of the home. Home, H-O-M-E, of the heart. Right there inside, the blossom and flower of love. Because we could take this magic carpet ride and accept the presence of angels in the most commercial and tinny and tacky of music there ever could be, let alone the rockiness that came along like crystal blue persuasion to remind us of our heart's song and kept us going all along, you see. Once you heard that tune, you never have to hear it again, though you do so as a reminder to yourself to reinforce the energy that it shares with you. Yet once is enough, and you're there already. You're already past and gone beyond this harsh reality. You've already eliminated the cruelty within yourself. You've already become one of the coolest beings in the entire universe, and you're here to party and play in the most peaceful and happy sort of ways. And you'll never again see violence come to play of any sort. Because that ain't your nature, don't you know? Nor is that the nature of humanity's soul as a larger collective. We're love bunnies, little kids that just love life and just want to see it be what it wants to be. Oh, darlings, the king of rock and roll, moving you heart and soul and telling you the way it is right now here on the Coyote Medicine Show. Your morning wake-up call and so much more. Here on the Hazy Radio Network, man. Ooh, with the tunage makes your heart lies. The movement of rock that gets you to roll. The roll that gets you in your soul, that gets you in your heart. That gets you rocking with it, don't you see? So we're rocking, rolling, and rapping in this reality from 9,000 feet high in the Rocky Mountain sky. And babies, this is just where we take off and fly. Light snow out there today, man, and a little bit of drizzly rain and low-hanging clouds, and oh my goodness, it's starting to look like winter out there. Here's our Halloween storm early a little bit this year, but oh darling, that means in a couple days it'll be clear, and we'll be sunning ourselves out there, dear, just like we do each and every day as soon as we're done with the Coyote Medicine Show in that coyote way. Get out there in the sun and do a little bit. Don't you see? Get some rays, baby, because we've been having them from inside all morning long, man. Coming from you, all you shining suns arising out there across the face of this vast reality we call Mother Earth. And the Mother Sky, Father Sky around it, man. The Mother's in the lover of the sky and the earth, and everything that happens there quite naturally given in the most dynamic harmonic of unity, man. I mean, that's just the way it is. The symphony of love exists in every piece of music ever created here, out of this thing we call time and the heart that lives in it, babies, In that way, then, even the tiniest, stupidest of music is quite divine, let alone the more profound that really touches you and brings you around, So we pay respect to all life living in the same way we do to our music, because we know the harmony in the tones of life. We've put an end to the age of strife, the age of pain and separation. We found inside of ourselves the solution that we've been looking for everywhere else. You've been riding with us all along, man, singing a happy little heart song the way the children do, man. When you're underway and you're on a big journey, they like to play, man. Oh, can we stop here? Can we stop there? Oh, let's do this. Let's do that. And now does that kind of explain some of the little twists and turns in your life? And that youthful exuberance you have when those moments appear? See, now, darling, you start to understand yourself and getting it clear. See, in the heartfelt way, It's been at play all along the way. Only because it was play you couldn't have it. Because it was like, oh my God, you had to be serious there for a ways, eh? Oh, not really. You know, we go through our stages and steps and we learn at every level of the journey. You know, another dynamic of the aspect of the true heart of love. And at the very least, it proves its endurance to us, through some of these gritty things like the stuff I was talking about in my particular little childhood, this lifetime, where the energies of darkness and rage came into me in a very vociferous way. You see, when you're a being that carries great light, well, you're going to have a counterbalance when you enter the world of polarity. And like I said, it came to me in a very vociferous way, a very brutal induction into a secret society. Ooh. And I won't describe it any further than that. And then followed by a whole bunch of reprogramming of my physicality, as well as my mentality, etc., you know, and trying to psychically affect me to live in this dark way. And in some ways I embraced it as a child, man. I couldn't help it, you know. It felt good to me because it was, you know, in opposition to all the injustice I saw all around me, you know. I was a little overwhelmed by that world, you know, as an innocent, as a baby. Before the big thing hit, you know, I was just a little overwhelmed by all the emptiness that I saw there and the unreality with which people played with each other. Yet there were sincere beings that I truthfully loved there, you know, because they really wanted to rock. They just didn't know how to roll yet. It just wasn't available to them, you know. They lived in an empire of Nazism, a soft kind of Nazism in those days, but harsh as the rails on the railroad track. I mean, just as hard and as hot in the sun and cold in the night as could be, you know, and just a different kind of reality, you know. And I could see, because of the musical dreams that I could contain within myself and expand upon and live in, you know, I could see a different vision of the reality than what was appearing before me. And because of the anxiety cast into me by these other beings, so-called, you know, in secret sort of ways. I mean, you wouldn't believe the story. It's in a book called The Atomic Bomb, a little of it, and of course we've been telling a little bit more of it here and there in this little series we call The Kid, of which some of today's show's probably going to be a part, you know. Wow, it's turning into quite a long little series, and it's a real personal in a way, and in another way it's the expansive story of the human heart too, you know, given in a personal way, but given in a more dynamic of the expansive heart that's well underway too. You see, because what's in your person is real. You know, what you perceive, that's your imagination creating what's happening to you right now, you see. So I could create some pretty wicked shit for myself back there in those days, you know. You wouldn't believe it. It involved planetary realities and everything. I mean, it was like stretching you to the max. In the quiet wee hours of your life, the wee hours of the day, they come to you and whisk you away. Well, not the first time. The first time, ooh, it was a real cruel dynamic, done in broad daylight, yet so deep underground that you'd never be found. You know what I mean? Jelly bean, ooh, they got their tunnelage. You wouldn't believe what goes on beneath the surface of this world, both in a literal kind of 3D physical sense and in a more mystical sense as well, because that's what it represents, is turning the darker way, you know. And who's been always underground and always at play here and has exercised a certain amount of control over humanity in a very cruel and cold-hearted sort of way. A brother, a sister, a heart of gold that went astray, and we had to bring back in some way. Now that's the essential story of it. Of course, it's a dynamic we created. I mean, in the bigger realm, in the realm of the heart, it's just a drama we chose. We chose this polarity. And see, I became an extreme example as a person, as a child, in this reality of the harboring of those energies. They kind of counterbalanced each other. So there was only a certain amount of torment and cruelty allowed to pass through me. Thank God I had the assistance of angels at every turn. Especially as a child. They were just so relegated to me and so dedicated to my heart that I couldn't lose no matter what I'd choose. I mean, for example, one day I fell in the ditch. And I by God, should have drowned. I was 4 or 5 years old. A lot happened to me in those days. And, instead, my little silk shirt got caught on the barbed wire fence alongside the ditch there. And my bucket that had swooped me in got stuck in the damn culvert that I was trying to draw water out of. But anyway, long story short, the water's rising up around me. I'm screaming and fighting with these barbs, trying to get them out of my little silk shirt there. And here's this sweet neighbor, Azalea. She's a young girl, about 18, 19 then. Gorgeous as the sun itself. I mean, she's beautiful in every right, Long, curly, auburn kind of hair and these hazel eyes, just so mysterious, Little kids notice stuff like that. Beautiful soul. An angel in every right, but probably gravely mistreated in this reality the way most of the feminine energy was in those days, sorry to say. But she had a beautiful heart and soul. And she was very intuitive, obviously, and guided there by the angels to boot. And come and grab me out of that water before I could drown myself again. Or maybe that would have been the first time. I think I drowned it at 7, yeah. And passed from the body for a little bit. But they got a big old resuscitator out from the local fire department and brought me back then, too. Divine angels, even in physical presence, everywhere you go. A very blessed life I led. Now, see, understand, a lot of these moments of near death came to me because, and these accidental things came to me because this darker energy inside wanted me dead. It wanted out. It wanted to be released. It couldn't stand the essential goodness in my soul. At least it didn't think it could. But, just like myself, that energy too is incredibly endurable, and has a whole lot of love in it to boot, as it's beginning to find out now as we reunify, we bring those unrectifiable polarized energies back together by the very simple sweet power of the child love inside that you couldn't take away if you tried. No one's been able to through all the generations. So many times they've tried, not just with me, with you, and everyone else too. Remember, it's always an assault on the innocence. Look around you, and it's still going on. Or at least it was, because right about now, it's over with. And how? Energy on this planet is shifted just with a few souls that participating in it sufficiently to put an end to such kind of shit. Nobody's going to be able to practice that any more than they could the act of warfare. I mean, it's happening, babies. And it's coming clear inside of you and me, dear, and therefore it's a shared thing, and it affects the consciousness around us and the creation tremendously. Just let that dream of being at peace in yourself and seeing everybody in love with everybody else be your reality. Just let that come forward in you. Let that be your perception of it. And let that purify the behavior you see around you that's so damn disgusting. Let that be what leads you right back into your heart. And does it from here on out in that heartfelt way where you surrender completely to the will of the universe. The ever-loving heart inside of yourself. That is the will of the universe and the whole universe working through you. That's what I mean when I talk about following the flow. Well, myself and the divine angels that are present with me always, who help me with my vehicular ways here and help me shift a few gears every now and then when we're going on a hard uphill grade or something, I mean, these guys are so sweet, You'll become a lot more conscious of the presences in your life. I mean, of the real and actual and factual presences that have been with you all along in very direct assistance, The orchestration, baby, that's gone on here is incredible beyond belief. You got to remember, it's a movie, so we're free to create the stage sets and situations as we will. There's a script to follow, but it's the divine heart, and it's very flexible in its applications. So we've taken it to some real extremes, but baby, whew, what a poetic and divine harmony this universe is. Uni meaning united, verse the poetic forms of expression of living. Now you see what music represents to us, the whole nature of life. Poetry given in divine harmony. Now you understand how music and tunage that makes your heart lodge can be so magic in this reality. Because it reminds you of your own vibrational harmony, which is every bit as significant here as any piece of music we play, and then some. You know? You're like the very symphony of love, formed into life through the divine symphony of love. I mean, you know, the kettle drums, man, have a mighty beginning in your little symphony. And we've been hearing the thunder of their buffalo hooves for a long time, or at least that's what it reminds us of. Did you ever notice that? If you're like me, when I was a little kid, I'd get to go to concerts every now and then, orchestrated kind of concerts, because I lived in a square reality. But hell, it was awesome to me. Those big old kettle drum, man. That was the thunder of the buffalo hooves. That was the voice of creation. Reminded me as a 2-3-year-old child that I was here to put an end to all that abomination in myself. And all these other two, because I could pull through. I mean, just be easy on yourself. Just go with the flow. Get done with it, don't you know? God, it was excruciating there in those childhood days. Time just never wanted to pass away. You remember that stuff? Was your childhood like that? Tick. Talk. You know, 3 hours later, a second goes by, and you go, oh, shit. And you're watching the sunlight pass away out there in the light of day. You know, it's getting into the afternoon, and you're still stuck in school, and that ain't cool. And along comes Elvis Presley and says, this is now or never, baby, you know. And suddenly you're out there, you know, even though your body's still encased in the schoolhouse, you know, some music has come and allowed you to escape quite naturally the fate of extreme boredom and extreme regimentation, and be out there where it's all free flowing, you know. You take one little look out the window, the sunlight comes into your heart, suddenly inside you're glowing. And the teacher, she's knowing you're going away, and she's looking your way, but you're getting away with it, because you're not being a smart aleck, and you got your eyes forward, and even though she can see the vision passing over your eyes, she can't do nothing about that, because that's mystical and that's not real. It's just something she's imagining. Little child of the devil. Oh, you must be, eh? More like the other way, eh? But a little bit of both, because you got the right dose, man. You know, everybody gets their formula, their recipe in life. Their extreme of it. Oh, wow. And how? And babies, you know, we just dish it up to ourselves as we need to see it, as we need to be it. So even such a thing as a schoolhouse experience where you have to separate yourself into the dreaming world of the grand sunlight around you, rather than be in that room, but yet still be in that room, so at least they think you are anyway, you know. Oh, there's lots of ways of escaping when you need to be in the heart and not allowing your soul to be raped. You know what I mean? Jelly bean, you know, and it was like that continually all around me in the world of my childhood. They were trying to rob you of that virgin innocence everywhere, you know, and I'm not talking even necessarily sexually. It was in all kinds of different ways, you know. School was just part of it. Take your restless, curious soul that's so happy with life and dull it down and turn it around and get it focused on hard factual numbers and situations given in words and ideas and thoughts and concepts that were kind of square. You know, got you thinking in dull sort of ways, and dulled you down, yet encouraged your brightness in some ways. Amazing, because there were saints amongst all that darkness. And, you know, like I remember like my 3rd grade teacher, you know, Ms. McKell. I was so in love with that darling soul. She was one of the most gorgeous and spectacular beings that ever lived. To me, she was Miss Utah, Miss Universe, Miss America, and the Statue of Liberty all rolled up into one. And she was my teacher in 3rd grade. I was so in love with that lady, man, I'm telling you. Now, I didn't have to live with her, put up with her perstickiness, except for a little bit in the classroom. But I had a way with her. I could just be cute. And she'd let me get away with the most demonic of behavior, you know, and not send me to the principal's office, as she sometimes would. I mean, she didn't let me get away with it all the time. She had to keep me kind of in check. She was a good, balanced person, you know, set a nice example for me. I couldn't help but objectify her, you know, and by then, you know, I think it was in 2nd grade, somehow or another, you know, in individual little private ceremonies out in a little tree house we created out of nothing, I got married to every girl in the class at one point or another. There might have been one or two exceptions. I don't think Jane or Anna Lee ever married me, but everybody else did. Oh, man. But see, in our innocence, in these fascinations, see how we feed ourselves? See how we allow ourselves some forms of loving expression, even if they're given in a fantasy sort of way? It's an allowance of the true reality in a place that's like a prison, you know what I mean? It's like a gift, you know, that you carry, and really, you know, just by being yourself and getting a little defiant and so forth, you're sharing it with others. You're setting the example. A lot of hearts loosen themselves up later because you got through it. And I'll bet Miss Kell was one of them, man, because she sure held mine set free. So I know it's always mutual, you know what I mean? And my 4th grade teacher, Mr. Hawes, he wasn't too bad either, man. He'd take me out after school on run. He was a sheet metal man, so we'd go out and crawl underneath houses and do shit, you know. Had a lot of fun, you know. Time or two, claustrophobia got me. I couldn't do it, you know. But he was a real cool dude, man, you know, he was, you know. Well, you know, that claustrophobic thing, now I know where it all came from. I'll tell you the long story of it sometime. Let's just stay in the short realm. It has to be doing when you're entombed and still alive and knowing that you're stuck there forever. It's kind of a feeling like that. Ooh, talk about desperado. Oh, my goodness. The Eagles couldn't even come close to describing that, though. They would try. I appreciate that, man. Those guys are gifted, man. Especially Joe Walsh and what's the other guy? all of them, man. Beautiful. Eagles are eagles, you know. So they even call themselves that. They got to kind of be that. So their music is kind of egalic, ain't it? Takes you higher and higher, baby. Even that one with the old sadness and the big tears in it. You can't hide your lion eyes. Well, that's so many people's story, man. I mean, geez. And in an abject sort of way, everybody's story. Because we've all lived with our disappointments and our pain. And we've all had to just deal with it and get on with it one way or another, you know. So really, it's everybody's story, even though it's poetically described in a soap opera kind of situation. See how clever eagles are? They got the cleverness of the coyote. And that's the angelic cleverness, too. That's where the coyote comes from, just like you do. The angelic realm, and that's why you're so coyote, and that's why coyote medicine is so sincerely at play here. We're always fooling ourselves into doing the right thing and moving in a good direction that helps everybody else, ourselves included. You know, and those that, you know, are tuned in here in that vibratory sort of way, you know, you've always had others' blessings ahead of your own. You know, you've always done that. You've belittled yourself a lot because of it, but at the same time, you know, you did what you thought you had to do. You know, it just seemed to be the right thing to be doing in that time. It's kind of the image they project into you as a child. Be a sacrificial being, give to everybody else, you know. Don't worry about yourself. Well, you learn, you know, and you grow, but you bless yourself for that. It didn't hurt anybody. It helped everybody. So you weren't doing necessarily a wrong thing. Could have allowed some benefit for yourself out of it. Look what you're allowing for yourself now. See? And how? So in denial is your truth. You know, you're just denying it for a while. So you can get better in it, better of it, and love it for it too, man. When, you know, you can't appreciate something you haven't, you know, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone, and once it's gone, ooh, then you know that empty feeling, yeah. And you know the graciousness, the beauty, the warmth of coming back and knowing nothing ever passed from you, that everything is there with you, that all the love you've ever experienced is a real thing. That's the one reality you can count on in here, in this zoo we call the 3D world, man, you know, is the love, man. That's the reality. That's the truth. You know, when you start to see how it truthfully plays in this dynamic, that's why I'm telling you some of my darker stories today, so you can understand the movement of love. It doesn't always move in the way you'd expect now, does it? You know, it ain't, you know, a fairy tale tinsel world. Though it is in another way, and in every right of it, too. In another way, it's divinely perfected. We chose the warped perception. We had to learn some appreciation for all this. We had to know polarities. We've never experienced duality before, if you want to call it that. It's a triality, but we denied the third element. We always went for two, you see. But there was always the repetitious three reminding us, nagging at us. You know, yet we carried it too. You see, the nurturing love would never let go. She never does. See, because we're just an extension of that love, each and every one of us, given in a personal way, the same way a molecule in your knee is different from a molecule in your toenail. You know, and each is very happy being what they are and very good at it. Obviously, because your body stays together and functions pretty well, don't it? I mean, maybe you're not that great a flow, but it's still there. It's still functional. It's united. And it's consciously present in all its little molecules. It just loves each and every little personal expression they are. You know, and they just love being what they are, them little molecules. And they love the atoms that make them molecules and so forth, you know. And again, we're dealing with a perceptual reality that's created of light and love. And there really isn't so much substance and form to it in this way that, you know, would have us believe in the magnetic polarities again. You see, it's like, no, it's an even flow. So you're becoming more conscious of that presence in yourself. When you're present in all your little physicality, then you're present in the reality too. You see, they're uniform and they're the same. So inside, through, well, hopefully not as harsh of experiences as I've described, but generally speaking, everyone gets this. You're kind of separated from your natural feelings as a child in some way, and psychologically you're reprogrammed to be a beneficial little stool pigeon in this reality, or a pigeon in the least, that don't matter if you sit on a stool or not. And away you go in a less than happy medicine show. But you're like me, because you're listening in here, and you know what I'm talking about. You got it clear. See, you held the vision, you know, and you tried to live it too, you know, and you put it in your life. You applied it wherever you could. And, you know, that fantasy world that you had as a child was just a way of reminding yourself, keeping it alive until you could begin to apply it, and to use these little experiments to apply it. You know, they get extreme and exaggerated because we're children. And we're innocent, you know, so we'll do silly things like marry the entire class of girls because they're cute and you love them. That doesn't mean you go and do other things, because we're too young to even... Back then we were far more innocent than second graders would be now. You know, you're corrupted by TV now for you're out of diapers, you know. Back then, kissing was pretty a big deal, and that's what it was all about, really. It was kissing every girl in the class. So we made up the marriage thing to go around it. My buddy Paul would do the ceremony, and then I'd get to kiss the bride, and that was awesome, man, you know. A reminder that there were angels everywhere, and they were helping me through it all, and that really, in the reality, even though we had extreme and strange differences, we were all in it together. And I wasn't such a stranger in a strange land, that the human heart really appreciated me for being here and being a child and getting through it, you know. And that it was here to help me too, and that it wouldn't let me expand in any other way. You know, it just loved me enough to let me have it my way and finish it up the way it needed to finish up. Isn't that awesome? See, that's a mother's love. That's true freedom. That's your mother's heart inside of you, which is the mother. You see, we're not separate from her. We're united with her physically through our belly button and by the representations on our chest of her divine energy. You see, but physically we are extended from her. Spiritually we are her extension too. You see, at the center I see that golden heart of love. I know the Madonna, the Mary Jane, but she's so much more, you know. And she is he too, you know. I mean, but it's not the divinely authoritarian, separated thing that we saw it to be at times. Oh, God help me, I'm powerless, you see. Well, God had to be separate from you then. If you're powerless, you got no power, right? You got nothing in you, and only God can save you. See how empty we let it be? You know, we had to beg out to ourselves for freedom. And oftentimes we'd give it to ourselves too. Because whatever it was you personified outside of yourself, that's the creation of your own heart. And it's reminding you of what's really there inside of you. You see, that's the unity in the nurturing love. By allowing yourself to feel it, you become it. You allow it to be your full presence. And that just kind of swallows up all that separateness and the authoritarian shit that goes with it. And life has its own natural authority, and into it just has its flow, and it goes with the glow of life. It's like the beams of the sun coming forward perfectly to unite life in the singularity of the light of life. See, life is transitional light, always. Light in experience, lightness in experience, brilliance and beauty, refracted into the color of the rainbowic existence of the collective humans, the collective human existence, the human conscious presence, which is the mother's heart extended into her children. Now do you understand why we're babies? And that's the treasure we hold here. That's our true wealth. That's our ability, literally, to recreate the world we see around us by allowing ourselves to be that heart that's free, given of a mother of creation quite naturally. Now do you feel the warmth of the sun coming up inside, and you see why with the sun and the sky and the earth we completely unite. It's the brilliance of life replicating itself in fullness in each and every one that lives within, under, and around the sun. Yes, indeed, you the one. So says Grandpa, setting us free, united.